Hi there. Hi there. Um, boom, boom, boom. What did I need to do? This is what I need to do. Hi. Yeah. Well, I mean, the YouTube title is really not anything new because thank you, Antique. Or rather, thank you, Steve. Hi, Prexis. Hi, Theo, or Fedor, as as your sister wanted to call you in Ukrainian. And hi, Peter. Yeah, thank you, Steve. What was I gonna say? I had so yes. So as to the YouTube title, the title is in fact really scary, but it's nothing new. It's been happening. I've been brushing up on the news a little bit from. I've been brushing up on the news a little bit from Kyiv Independent, from all of my other social media, from all of my other news channels. As I said earlier, there are not a lot of updates today. And I read some of them for you earlier. There are actually very few updates, which is strange because, I mean, Kyiv Independent, although releases a lot of updates, kind of releases updates about absolutely everything, which is good, but the channels that I use kind of like are a little more selective than that. So usually Kyiv Independent does end up, hi, hello, Alaska, Juno, right? Hi, Peter, on here as well. Usually tend to be a little more selective, so they do tend to have less updates than Kyiv Independent, always. But hi, Juju. I am going to rely a little bit on a lot of different sources today because I do want to go over a couple of things that were simply not really mentioned in my news sources. So let me, well, first of all, we're going to wait for a couple more people to show up. In the meanwhile, we're going to talk a little bit. Gosh, Kyiv Independent never stops, which is really funny. Um, First of all, there is very good news today. UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said that Russia is starting to show cracks. I have had full reading up on the Crimea strike. Yeah, the Crimea strike is very interesting because basically Ukraine is not admitting to it, is not refuting it, is using it for a lot of memes, and basically is kind of, for the lack of better word, fucking with Russia, really, because we're not really like admitting to it. We're not really disputing it. Some officials are admitting to it. Some officials are disputing it. So all in all, Ukraine seems to really be like kind of running Russia around in circles in a guessing game, trying to have them guess whether we did attack them or whether we did not attack them. My day went well, Walter. So it's like one of those things where I think it's a very, very high Connor. I think it's an incredibly smart strategy on Ukrainian behalf where we are just kind of like, yeah, well, we might have weapons, we might not have weapons. We might have HIMARS, we might not have HIMARS. We might have Ukrainian made weapons that you didn't know about. We might have struck you with HIMARS, or maybe it wasn't HIMARS. Was it HIMARS? So, so it's just kind of like a very strategic sort of guessing game that Ukraine is making Russia play. I think. I think that we are definitely taking advantage of. Oh yeah, Wagner Group has always been recruiting from has been recruiting from prisons for a while now. It's quite crazy. There were, I think, a couple of months ago, there were a lot of prisoners. A lot of prisoners stuck on the nuclear, a lot of prisoners that or people that looked like prisoners in the streets of St. Petersburg right after these rumors have started. So they started doing that a while ago, and it's not surprising, to be honest. And I feel like Russian prisoners, provided that Russian prisoners and people who are awaiting trial would most likely, in large numbers, agree to go to war rather than be jailed, high gap, because Russia's incarceration rate is like 90%, or basically, if here's the thing, if you are awaiting trial in Russia and they want you to go to war because they don't have enough personnel, you know they're going to convict you if you say no. You know they're going to convict you. So it's kind of like one of those things where, yeah, of course, they will agree to go to war. So that's Russia's new strategy. Hi, AB. So that's that. As to Crimea, I really do genuinely do really like that that Ukraine is kind of like running Russia through 7 levels of hell, because again, I think it's a very, very strategic way of Ukraine sort of just having them guess. Hi, Sinan. Or Sinan. Sinan? Please let me know if I ever pronounce your name wrong. Hi, Jilly. Because I prefer to address people by their actual names, and I prefer to say them right. Hi, Sherry. Yeah, so it's kind of like one of those things where, it's a great strategy. Sinan. Okay, cool. So basically, yes, I think that it's an amazing strategy. I think Ukraine is doing a great job. I think that Ukraine is kind of, again, running Russia through 7 levels of hell, and it's just being like, well, you figure out whether we have weapons. You figure out whether we attacked you. You figure out whether your personnel was just incompetent. Yep. We're not going to say anything. Oh, yeah, sure, we did it. Haha, no, we did not do it. Oh, actually, we did do it. I don't know if we did it. So it's like one of those things where it kind of wastes Russia's time, right? And it wastes Russia's resources on investigating what happened at the Crimean air base, other than paying attention to Ukrainian counteroffensive. Hi, Luann, and hi, Bow Cosmo or Brew Cosmo. No, I'm not blind, but I do need glasses. My eyesight is pretty low because of astigmatism, but that's a pretty harsh commentary over there, and I feel like you are saying things to offend me that are not offensive, because there are blind people and it's not offensive. Thank you, John, and thank you, Sanan. Jonathan, thank you for your support. Whole evil comes from the West. Really? What evil? The evil that commits genocide? The evil that keeps people in concentration camps in their own cities that they have destroyed? The evil that pays off media so the media says that Ukraine tries to murder their own people? The evil that has been stealing from their own people? The evil that has been perpetuating the idea of the great Russian race, even though it's not a race. That evil? The evil that has been preaching Russian superiority in the world? Thank you, Cyberman. That evil? Oh no, that does not come from the West. That comes from the East. Unless you mean the West of Russia, then yeah, it does come from the West of Russia. Are we good here? Any more explanation needed? Hi, Lauren. I sent you doggy treats in the DMs. I hope you got them, the gluten-free ones. Beast of the East, yeah. So another interesting turning point today is that the British Defense Secretary, Ben Wallace, I believe, yes, Ben Wallace, said that Russia's invasion falters and starts to fail. So he's saying that quote, Russia is starting to fail in many areas. They have failed so far and are unlikely to ever succeed in occupying Ukraine. The press conference with the UK, Danish, and Ukrainian defense ministers followed the International Donors Conference, where the two countries announced additional military aid for Ukraine. As I was saying earlier, hi and thank you, what's up? Hi, M. Sapu 17. Hello, thank you so much. Привіт, ми з України, гарного настрою Нью-Йорку. Дуже дякую, привіт. But so yeah, what I was trying to say with that, as I was saying earlier, it looks like the Ukrainian offensive is really just starting, and it's starting off really strong, and it does look like the line of front is really breaking. Because if you look at, I often get asked whether something's changing in the front lines, whether something's changing in the east, whether something's changing in the south. Yes, it is. Because if you look at the war analysis, if you look at the warfare itself, Ukraine was generally defending itself from Russian invasion. What Ukraine is doing now is Ukraine is shooting up air bases, Ukraine is shooting up supply bases, Ukraine is shooting up ammo bases, Ukraine is shooting up stock bases, Ukraine is disrupting Russian logistics supplies and stuff like that. So this is not a defensive anymore. That is a pretty out there offensive. And if you look at the past couple of weeks, the news are normally Ukraine destroyed this in Donbass, in Donetsk, Ukraine destroyed this in occupied Mariupol, Mariupol not so much, but Ukraine destroyed this in Donetsk, Ukraine destroyed this in Luhansk, Ukraine destroyed this in Kherson, Ukraine destroyed this in Crimea. So it's all just sort of, or rather they're not even saying Ukraine destroyed it. It's like there is a Russian airbase on fire in Crimea. Ukraine and its people have gone through so much, sending them all my love. Thank you, April. Ukraine people are my people. Thank you very much. I do really appreciate your support. But so yes, so basically, hi, Charles. Or not a botter. But basically what I was trying to say with that is that if you look at how the news has changed on the Ukrainian side, the news was building destroyed in Ukraine, city shelled in Ukraine, Russia gaining momentum in here, Russia moving a kilometer in there, Russia doing this in there. The news now is the ammo depot is on fire in this area occupied by Russia. Mind you, also from what I was saying earlier, and what I want to add to this is that in a lot of these cases, we're not saying, hey, Ukraine struck a Russian depot. It's like, oh, a Russian depot's on fire. Hi, Scott. Привіт, привіт. Добрий вечір. So it's one of those things where we're not necessarily admitting that we did it not in Crimea, not only in Crimea, but everywhere, because that kind of gives Russia the same questions as it gives us, right? Like we're sitting here sometimes and we're like, hey, so there are news of Russian depot being on fire, but it's not confirmed who did it, right? And then Ukraine's like, well, we don't know. Did we do it? So there is a strategy behind that, because that's Ukraine trying to confuse Russia into not knowing whether we got weapons from the West, what weapons we got from the West, what weapons could have caused that damage. Did we do it at all? Was it a mistake on Russian behalf? Because as you know, their personnel is constantly undertrained and is not really doing well, and they could really screw something up and a depot could be on fire because someone's an idiot. Let's keep it real here, right? I'm not even going to filter and use politically correct terms, but genuinely, it could be an idiot who blew up their own ammo thing, their own piece of ammunition, or I don't know, artillery malfunctioned. Nothing's upkept in Russia. So basically, So basically, Ukraine is doing a very, very smart, not only tactical warfare on the ground, but also tactical intelligence warfare, because there is a lot of intelligence warfare going on in conducting a war, and most of the war actually happens through intelligence warfare, because it basically, your success largely depends on how much you know about your enemy, and Ukraine is doing a fantastic job. How much has the raffle raised so far? I believe we are at $4,800-ish dollars. But as to the raffle, as I said earlier, I'll be raffling off stamps. Well, these are actually Squirrel's internal stamps, and we're raffling off the same stamps but international, and we are raffling them off for donations to the birthday fundraiser for Eyes for the Frontline Drivers, which basically means that we need to buy night vision goggles or night vision devices for ambulance drivers on the front lines, because they can't use their lights during the night in order to not be discovered by Russia. And they're basically driving blindsided, and they need that. So every $5 donation gives you one entry into the raffle for the Russian Warship Go F Yourself stamps. So if you'd like, there is a link in my bio for the fundraiser. It's called Fundraiser. Consider it a gift for my birthday. The fundraiser is not for me. I need to reword it, because the whole point was that for my birthday, I'd like to raise money for the Ukrainian ambulance drivers on the front lines, because during the day they deliver essential medication to people in affected areas, and during the night they patch up soldiers, and they need to be able to see. And the photo on the fundraiser is actually my dad's employee, who's currently on the front lines driving an ambulance. He's part of the Ukrainian military and part of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. Now, if you don't want to donate through the fundraiser, you can donate through my Venmo, which is the same as my handle. It's YEWLEEA, or you can donate to PayPal, which is YEWLEEA design@gmail.com. It is a new live because earlier we just ended up chit-chatting, and I figured I need to do the news later. You're right. Just lost combat effectiveness, still dangerous. Well, so here's the thing. There were actually, the funny thing is that, Russians keep saying like, oh, Ukrainians are so stupid. Ukrainians are so ineffective. Ukrainians are so this, Ukrainians are so that. Yet, when you interview Ukrainian soldiers who full well know that Russian soldiers are not really very prepared, right? Most Ukrainian soldiers say like, hey, we don't underestimate the enemy. We study the enemy. So even if you look at the forces, even if you look at the military, even if you look at the like lowest ranking military, right? Russians are like, we're going to destroy those holes. They don't know what they're doing. Like, they're so awful. And Ukrainian officers are like, hey, well, no, underestimating the enemy, no matter how unprepared they seem, is going to lose you the war. So even in that way, in like the morale way and the preparedness way and the effectiveness way, Ukraine is still like levels above Russia, besides the obvious, right? Then there was another question. God, I hate being as ADHD as I am, because I lose my thoughts every 5 seconds. What were we talking about before? Stamps. The live, it's a new live because we were chit-chatting earlier, and then I realized that I should do a new live for the news later in the evening. So this is what I'm doing now. Also, I have posted with this cardigan that everybody had asked about earlier, which is a cardigan from Ukraine. I posted a Instagram post, and I tagged the company. And also, if you guys are interested in purchasing this cardigan, which is 100% wool and super amazing and from a Ukrainian brand and so soft, and I really love it. Also, disclaimer, I do not make any commission on selling anything from Ukrainian brands. So when I say something about Ukrainian brands, it's not because I'm trying to sell it to you so I could make money on it. I make nothing out of it. What I normally do is when I buy something from a Ukrainian brand, it comes to me and I end up loving it. I will reach out to the brand and say, hey, I have a TikTok channel. I would like to post about you. Would you mind giving my followers a discount for purchases? And they usually agree because, hey, they, it's free advertisement for them. They don't need to pay me. And I'm doing this not to make money. I'm doing this because I genuinely think that like there's so many really cool brands and really cool things in Ukraine and the world should know. And I've been, I've been mostly buying clothes from Ukrainian brands this year because they're freaking awesome. And so they gave me a discount. So this cardigan is currently 30% off from its original value, and they have it in two colors. They have it in this colorway, and then they have it in literally this colorway in the reverse. And they gave me 10% off. So if you go to my Instagram, which is the same as my TikTok handle, and you go to the post, the brand is tagged there on their website. If you use my handle as a promo code, it will also take additional 10% off of the price or of anything that you would buy on their website. Yes, Jilly, the fundraiser is still going. And we now have added stamps to the raffle. So from today, every donation that came to Venmo, PayPal, or the fundraiser page from today, every $5 gives you an entry to the raffle to win Russian Worship Go F Yourself stamps. So the stamps are not really like how much am I raffling them off for, but basically I'm aiming to raise $10,000. We almost raised 5 out of 10. And basically for the next $5,000, every $5 donation buys you an entry to win the stamps. So if you donate $50, that's 10 entries. If you donate $500, that's like 100 entries. If you donate $5, that's one entry, $10, two entries, and so on. So, oh, awesome. Yeah. So you can Venmo me, PayPal me, or you can go to the fundraiser page in my bio, and every $5 donation or every $5 of a donation, you don't have to donate $5 each time. You can do 50, and that will be like, if you wanted to do 50, and that will be like 10 entries. And so starting from today up until the 10,000, basically that is the raffle off. And it'll be for the Russian Worship Go F Yourself stamps. They will be also framed, and I will map them. So you are going to be able to you're gonna like receive them in a very nice hanging ready state, basically. Donations that started today. So yes, because I was hoping that we would be able to raise $10,000. We raised 4.5, and then donations have increasingly slowed down. Also, thank you everybody for the gifts. So donations have increasingly slowed down, and I am just trying to do my best to come up with ideas to kind of get it to 10,000. So I had another thing of stamps, and I figured that I will part with it for the cause. And so that's why I'm adding them to the fundraiser, because in hopes that more people would be willing to donate if there is something on the line for it, basically. So yes, and for everybody who's been supporting Ukraine and buying Ukrainian, thank you very much. You're doing an incredible job, and we are very lucky to have such amazing support as Ukrainian people. So of course, Veronica. I mean, again, like, donations are great when people are able to, but please, if you are not able to and you have other things to take care of and you have other bills to pay and stuff like that, please don't feel obligated. My cardigan is really cool and really pretty, and it's linked on my Instagram. I was just talking about it. So first of all, I'm also streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Twitch. So if you prefer these two platforms better, you can find me under the same handle as this. And if you missed the news, if you missed any of my lives, if you missed anything, you will always find it on YouTube and Twitch recorded and waiting for you there. So I would highly recommend subscribing, because it's it's just easier. And also, if you came into the stream late, you can rewind. Like, for instance, I was talking about this cardigan um, I was talking about this cardigan, and I um, sorry, I just read a very funny comment. I'll read it in a second. But so basically, this cardigan is from a Ukrainian brand. It's 100% wool. It's on 30% off right now. And I have a code for 10% off more for anything from their website, from this brand, because I reached out to them and asked if they would give me a discount for my followers because I love this brand. And again, disclaimer, anytime I promote a Ukrainian brand, I don't make any commission. I don't partner up with Ukrainian brands for money. I just partner up with them because I want to bring them out to the world because they're freaking great. And I'm really into them. And I want people to know more Ukrainian brands because we have so many freaking great brands. And, you know, in America, I feel like 100% wool cardigan is usually like $300 or up. And in Ukraine, if it's like a cool brand with like cool stuff, it'll be like 100 something. And that's in some cases. And so this is an awesome cardigan. I will be wearing it a lot. They have a lot of different colorways. This particular one comes in this blue and yellow and blue. So yeah, please check it out on my Instagram. I linked it, and there is a discount code, which if you use Yulia, you will get 10% off. And I promise, pinky promise, that I don't make any money out of this. So there is no need for me to try to push something onto you that I don't believe in. You can also literally ask the brand if you'd like to. And it also says it in the post on my Instagram, and the brand is tagged in it. So the comment I was reading on the comment I was reading on YouTube is the comment from Praxis, who is a regular here, and it says, so, Yulia, I don't know if we can trust you anymore. I missed yesterday's live, so wasn't able to call you out for it in the moment. But when that person came in with the "I know where you were born" comment, a maternity ward was mentioned, and that's clearly bullshit because we all know Ukrainians aren't born. They're found in cabbage patches. Sorry, but it had to be said. And it literally it's actually the funniest thing ever because yes, mama, українських дітей знаходять в капусті? Українських дітей знаходять в капусті? My mom says that no, аїсти, jeez, мамо, як так можна, аїст? Oh my gosh, mom. Okay. Та. Та чую, вже чую, але кажу, аїст спочатку казалося. Ні, не почулося. Anyways, so my mom says, Praxis, actually, for your information, Ukrainian kids are not being found in cabbage patches. They're being brought to you by storks. So, I'm sorry, but we can't trust you either. Anyways, so Cabbage Patch Kids, no, we are carried in by storks, just FYI. Ukrainian children, we are being brought to our parents by storks. Yes. Oh, also, this beautiful sticker pack is going to come with the stamps on the raffle. So if you're not donating to the fundraiser yet, I don't know what you're doing, because these I don't think you can buy online. So exclusive, if you will. Also, if we reach $10,000 in the coming 2 days or 3 days, which would basically be another $5,000, I promised that I will do 7 days of lives in this accent. And I will be talking like this for the whole time. And I will also sometimes add like a California Valley girl accent, but onto like Russian accent. So it's going to be like a Russian Valley girl. And I will do it with a straight face no matter what the news are. So the stakes are high, guys. Or here's the thing, I will do that if we don't raise $10,000. If you're annoyed by the Russian Valley girl accent, you gotta prevent that from happening. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about the important stuff. So, again, according to Ben Wallace, Russians are on their last leg. Ukrainians are launching a giant counteroffensive, and it is working really well, which is very much evidenced by our intelligence work. It is very much evidenced by our intelligence warfare. It is very much evidenced by how we are clearly taking out some Russian ammo bases and air bases. And I'm sorry, I got distracted because on Twitter just now, I saw US National News Live. DOJ moves to unseal warrant that led to FBI search of Trump's Florida home, AG Garland says. Thank you so much, Trekkie Nerd. Thank you for letting me know. I'm very glad that I made it onto your FYP, and welcome. Welcome to our Ukrainian news club. It's just parts of the warrant. Yes, sure, but still big news. I did hear that he has okay, we're gonna get to Trump later. I am ought to schedule a live on American politics, and I'm going over all of the craziness that's been happening in here in the past couple of days, and as evidently this is going to keep going on, and there is going to be a lot to talk about. So let's create a safe space to talk about everything that's happening today. I posted that video about Trump and about how it's funny that he said, Hillary, that only guilty take the fifth, and then he pled the fifth. And then so many Trump supporters commented on that video. Granted, most of their comments got filtered, and I didn't approve them yet because, oh my gosh, brain melting. But I've been tagged by a bunch of Trump supporters in an excerpt of a CNN news cycle where someone was saying that Trump's justification that he's being politically targeted is not wild, it's a pure fact. And they thought that them merely tagging me in a CNN newscast in which some person is like, oh yeah, I agree, he's being politically targeted, is going to change my mind and somehow prove to me that he's being politically targeted. Like, honey bunnies, if you think that I blindly follow the news or people on the news networks, you must be kidding me. That is literally the issue we have in America. I don't care what the CNN says. I don't care what Fox News says. I don't care what BBC says. I don't care. I'm going to do research, and I'm going to look at facts and I'm going to find as much material as humanly possible to make objective conclusions. If someone on CNN says that Earth is flat, what am I supposed to be like? Oh my God, wait, CNN tends to lean liberal. I am liberal. CNN says Earth is flat. Oh my gosh, my entire life was a lie. That is not how the world works, and that is not how the world should work. I understand that a lot of people who support Trump blindly, literally listen to everything that Fox News says and just go with it. But no. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you for tagging me in a CNN excerpt that supports Trump. I guess good for the person, Good for them. Nice try. I don't care. Cool. I disagree with them. So, just because they say that it's a fact doesn't actually make it a fact. It's a random host. I can go on CNN and say, hey, actually, you know, Biden was born on Mars. And just because I believe it doesn't make it true. Like, can we learn to fact check things that people say on TV? Please and thank you. Also, like, I love when people who disagree with me politically just decide that I watch CNN all day, every day. And that's just what I do. And I don't think I have watched CNN in the last 2.5 years. And before that, I seldom come across CNN. Like, I was following the war updates in Ukraine from CNN for the first 2 days of the invasion because they constantly updated them, like, on the internet. But I don't necessarily, like, religiously follow a certain publication. Neither do I actually watch the news on TV unless it's like a live hearing or something happening live that's incredibly important. But, like, anyways, moving on. Russian oil production falls less than 3% compared to pre-war levels in July. So Russia is still producing a lot of oil. A lot of countries are still buying their oil. Some countries are forced to buy the oil because it would actually be an incredible detriment to them if they didn't. Not as in, like, uncomfortable, but like they wouldn't be able to survive. So the sanctions have to be implemented incredibly gradually, which is okay, understandable. Not everybody is able to just give up Russian gas and oil. But still quite upsetting to see the number fall less than 3% because that also means that a lot of the countries are bypassing sanctions and a lot of other countries are compensating for the lack of purchases from other countries. So, like, the East. I would say India, yeah. And I literally just scrolled and it says India. India and China. Makes sense. Now, in other terrible news, Russia is still at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It is basically holding it hostage in front of the world in order to scare people into thinking, well, will they, won't they? Will it withstand? Will it not withstand? Is it going to be a nuclear catastrophe? Should we just stop supplying weapons to Ukraine so Ukraine can surrender so Russia can leave the nuclear power plant? It's mind games that Russia is playing. Except I do notice that a lot of people are saying that it's only Europe that's concerned, and that's wrong, because if something happens to that nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia, which is 10 times the size of Chernobyl, it's not just Western Europe, Ukraine, and Eastern Europe that's going to feel it. It is going to quite literally wipe out the rest of the world. So it's not just Western Europe that should be concerned. And I think it's a misrepresentation of how big the nuclear power plant is and what danger it poses when we only talk of it in terms of Europeans are scared or Western Europeans are scared. This is to blackmail the whole world, because Chernobyl was going to wipe out the whole of Europe. This is 10 times the size and the magnitude of Chernobyl. So we should stop talking about it as a concern for just Europe. We should start talking about it as a concern for the world, because everyone is going to feel the consequences of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant blowing up. Despite that, the power plant is made to withstand bombing and shelling. It is made to collapse on itself and shut down if such events happen, but it is not 100% foolproof. Also, Russians are not going to blow up the power plant because it's going to wipe out Russia as well. So, in my opinion, in the opinion of a lot of experts, in the opinion of a lot of people, they are basically holding the power plant, the nuclear power plant hostage in order to scare the world. And as I said earlier, it's kind of like a tactic to be like, oh, will they, won't they? So people consider not helping Ukraine. So people consider giving Ukraine up in order to prevent a possible nuclear catastrophe and stuff like that. But so far, nobody has been budging because obviously everybody's calling Russia on their bluff. And also, it is a gigantic war crime. So, in the words of Zelensky, Russia must withdraw from nuclear power plant to restore Europe's security. Russia has hit a new low in the global history of terrorism. Zelensky said, nobody else has used a nuclear power plant so brazenly to threaten the whole world and demand some conditions. He said that Europe's security can only be restored if Russia withdraws from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Russian-occupied Enerhodar. Russia has used the nuclear power plant as a shield and a tool of blackmail, shelling Ukrainian positions from the plant's territory. Exactly. And Ukrainians can't fire back at Russians because Russians are at the nuclear power plant. And Ukrainians are not going to be, we're not going to be shelling a freaking nuclear power plant because it doesn't matter that we know that it's secure, and it doesn't matter that we know that it is going to shut down and that it's made to kind of withstand that. We're not going to do that. It's still a nuclear power plant. Like, you don't play with fire, and Russians know that. So part of the reasoning why they're there is because they want to keep their ammo base so Ukrainians can't destroy it, and part of the reasoning is because they want to blackmail the world. They also, every time it gets shelled, they try to put it out into the world where, like, oh, Ukraine shelled it. Ukraine was shelling us. Hey, our ammo base is here. So they kind of want to create this image of Ukraine where, like, Ukraine does something very, very bad. So the Western world stops supporting us and the Western world stops giving us weapons. But again, all of those things are very easily checked by satellites. Russians are bombing the nuclear power plant. Ukrainians are in fact not. And it's Russians being at that power plant and setting up an ammo base there is one of the bigger issues we have, because we actually can't freaking do anything about those Russians because we're not going to, like, test the destiny, and also we're not going to do that to people. So yeah, US backs creating demilitarized zone around Russian occupied nuclear plant. A US State Department spokesperson urged Russian forces to cease military operations near the Zaporizhzhia NPP in Russian occupied Enerhodar. Antonio Guterres called for the withdrawal of Russian troops from the plant, saying fighting may lead to a disaster. Russia has used the nuclear plant as a shield and a tool of blackmail, constantly shelling Ukrainian positions from the plant's territory. Of course. Druzhba pipeline is still working because Russia continues to use the Druzhba pipeline, and Ukraine resumes transit of the Russian oil to Hungary and Slovakia via that pipeline, which, Russia was saying that they can do that through that pipeline to any other country, but for some reason for Hungary and Slovakia, it's different. The thing is working now. It doesn't have any issues, right? Okay, Medvedev, the former Russian president and former Russian prime minister, basically the little puppet that was standing in for Putin for the 4 years that Putin could not be president until he conveniently changed the law where he can be president, until he dies. Medvedev visited Russian-occupied Luhansk Oblast, and he held a security meeting there. He's also now the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council. He met with Denis Pushilin and Leonid Pasichnuk, leaders of the Kremlin's proxies in Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast. Russian Prosecutor General Igor Krasnov, Alexander Bortnikov, head of Russia's Federal Security Service, and other high-ranking Russian officials also attended that meeting. Why did why did nothing catch on fire suddenly while that was happening? That would have been very nice. Things just keep catching fire in Russia suddenly for no reason. Wink, wink. Um, okay, so we've seen the images of the explosions. Yeah, so there is a Kyiv Independent article that says occupied Ukrainian plant becomes epicenter of Russia's nuclear blackmail. Basically, because Russia is anticipating a Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south and knows that Ukrainians will be very successful with it because we have been proving successful with our counteroffensive so far, and we haven't even gotten all of the weapons yet. So Russia is basically turning the sixth reactor on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant into a ticking time bomb. Tabby Cat, thank you so much. And hi, good to see you again. 98% of Ukrainians believe in victory over Russia. And also, in recent months, support for NATO, support for Ukraine joining NATO has increased 72%. Has increased to 72%, which is like, I believe, a 13% increase from like March, April, May, from May, because in May, because of NATO's ineffectiveness and because of NATO's because of NATO's dismissal of everything we were saying, and because of NATO's like diminishing the issue. Where are the other 2%? Sorry. So basically, oh, thank you, Tabby Cat. Thank you so much. But basically, sorry, sometimes, so for all of those of you who are new, I am ADHD. So sometimes I have like spells of wah, and I'm really sorry, but I do know what I'm talking about, despite of what it might look like sometimes. Or if I don't, please correct me. But I do consider myself pretty knowledgeable in the politics, geopolitics, and the current events in Eastern Europe in general. But so, and history as well. But so basically, 72% of Ukrainians now support Ukraine's accession into NATO. Not that Ukraine is going to be joining NATO or was offered that or it's coming anytime soon. But if we were offered that opportunity, now 72% of us support it. See, in May, Ukrainian support for NATO dropped to a much lower level. I want to say it was like in the like 58% of Ukrainians supported it, or 59, because NATO was super ineffective. NATO did not want to help us. NATO was kind of like, oh, we are going to intervene if there is going to be a chemical attack or a biological weapon used or like nuclear weapons used or something like that. And then all of these things were used and they were like, oh, well, I mean, the scale was not large enough, and they were all used in Mariupol. And so Ukrainians were like, no. Yeah, Ukraine was and quite is still disappointed in NATO, but I guess we're coming around to it. And also, 91% of Ukrainians approve of President Volodymyr Zelensky's work. Well, Charles, or not a botter here on YouTube, says NATO is about Article 5. Attack one, you attack all. Everything else is politics. Yes, but NATO is also about defense from Russia. Let's be real. And now that one country is actually struggling from an incredible offense by Russia, from so many war crimes, from a humanitarian disaster, from an economical disaster, from a political disaster, from like an overall overarching disaster and a genocide. And NATO could fix that. And NATO knows that. And this is exactly the situation for which NATO was created. So that's where the animosity is coming from, because sure, Article 5. Oh, thank you, Tim. We just got another donation to the fundraiser. Thank you so much, Tim. Sorry, again, I got distracted. But basically, the animosity is coming from the fact that the very reason that NATO was created is happening right now in front of our very eyes. And yes, to Article 5, but also you should be more effective in this. But yes, thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. We just got another donation to the fundraiser, a donation of $100. So that would be 20 entries. 20 entries. Thank you so much. Sorry, my math skills are horrible. Squirrel is going to be helping me calculate all of that. Sorry, Squirrel. You know I love you. Okay, so Russia fails to advance in several directions. Also, of course, Russia shells Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant again, but that is not news. Hi, Pomsta. Also, for those of you who don't speak Ukrainian, the person with a handle Pomsta basically is a handle translated to revenge. So yeah, it's kind of cute. Yeah, looks like Ukraine is being used to bleed Russia. Yes, exactly. So this is kind of like a rhetoric, right? That a lot of Trump supporters and a lot of mom is in bed over here. She's doing something on her phone. But that rhetoric, right? So there are two different rhetorics, and one of them is right and one of them is completely wrong. And one of them is being used against Ukraine and against supporting Ukraine, and another one is actually right. So there is a rhetoric used that basically says, hey, Ukraine is fighting American war against Russia. False. And there are two very big distinctions that need to be made. So here is what Not a Botter says on YouTube. Yeah, looks like Ukraine is being used to bleed Russia. That is correct. So Ukraine is fighting our own war, and all of these countries are genuinely helping us. One, they're helping us for good reasons because, well, Ukraine needs help, and hey, you're not going to stand by when somebody is being literally murdered and you can prevent it, right? Two, everyone is interested in weakening Russia. But no one's interested in losing people over weakening Russia. No one's interested in losing infrastructure over weakening Russia. No one's interested in going into boots on the ground war with Russia, right? So it is much more convenient for them to bleed Russia out while they're attacking Ukraine. So all of these countries are helping us, but they're also helping us just enough in just enough time for Ukraine to continue bleeding out Russian resources, no matter the cost for Ukraine. So in that way, yes, the Western world is definitely using Ukraine. In the way that Ukraine is fighting a proxy war, absolutely not. So yes, that's where the difference is. I tried to click the Spot Fund link on YouTube and it says page not found. That's very strange. Did you mean designated hitters? Did you mean the Spot Fund link in the description of like in the comments to this live in the description? Let me see. I'm going to try and see what's happening there. Boom, boom, boom. Bum, 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 bum. Let me see, because I do have that and it should be working. Here, let me try and go into my profile. Hi, Tawny. Edit profile. Why is my link in bio not working if I'm going from the computer? Ooh, weird. I don't like that. Okay, let me do this then instead. I am going to YouTube Studio. I am going to go to Thank you, Tawny. Thank you. Let me go. Sorry, guys. Brief pause. I need to see why the link is not working. Let me see why the link is not working. I gotta figure that out because that's not good. That is not good at all. Okay. Share, yes. Share. Okay, share. Copy URL. URL copied. Let's go to YouTube now. And I'm going to go into this live and I'm going to change the description really quick. And I am going to... Okay, so it should be working now. Try now. It should be working now. So designated headers, if you try now, it should be working. It asks me if I want to start a fundraiser. So try now. I just updated it. So I just did like a different way of putting a link. So it should be working. Let me know. Okay. So Switzerland declares its readiness to represent the interests of Ukraine in Russia. This was announced by the representative of the Swiss Foreign Ministry, Pierre Alain Elchinger. According to him, we're talking about the mandate of the patron state. I'm not saying it's happening, and why would you believe we have Third World War? Because I don't rate. What? What are you talking about? You fixed it. Okay. According to him, we were talking about the mandate of the patron state. Translated from diplomatic language, this means that Switzerland can represent the interests of Ukraine and Russia since there are no diplomatic relations between the two countries now. Now the Russian side must agree to the entry into force of this mandate, which they're probably not going to. Britain will give Ukraine 3 additional M270 multiple launch rocket systems and shells for them. Nice. Russia shelled Kharkiv tonight. City Mayor Ihor Tarakhov confirmed explosions. At 4:28, another night shelling of Kharkiv. Only 4 strikes, one after the other. There is already information about getting into the courtyard of a residential building in the center of Kharkiv in the Kyivsky district. No casualties have been reported at this time, the mayor wrote. 3 people were killed and 7 injured as a result of Russian shelling of Nikopol, the head of the Dnipropetrovsk army, Valentin Reznichenko. The enemy fired at the Nikopol region using Grad MLRS 3 times. There were 120 strikes in total. More than 40 high-rise buildings were damaged in Nikopol. 5 apartments were destroyed. Rescuers are clearing the rubble and looking for people. Also, let me try this. We haven't done this in a while. Squirrel, we need to work on, when my mom leaves, we need to work on Streamlabs and add some more quotes and add some more stuff because that thing is definitely not working. Okay. In the Kryvyi region, which is where Zelensky is from, the Zolotolsk community fell under the fire of Russian Hurricane MLRS. There have been several fires. The fire was extinguished. The people are unharmed. In the Dnipropetrovsk region, there was a strike of a rocket. The extent of the destruction is being ascertained. The Seima of Latvia recognized Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. The parliament also called on EU countries to stop issuing visas to citizens of Russia and Belarus. Also, Estonia has decided to close the borders for Russian citizens with Schengen visas, Estonian Foreign Ministry. The decision to close the borders of Estonia for Russians for whom the Republic had previously approved visas will affect 50,000 people. Foreign Minister Urmas Reinsalu said Estonia, along with Latvia and Finland, are the countries through which Russians enter the EU along the land border in the absence of air traffic. So, Estonia actually, along with Lithuania, I believe, well, Lithuania along with, I believe, Estonia, actually approved a law that if on the territory of their country there is a Russian person or any person in general who's on a visa or has like their version of green card or like permanent residence, or has changed their like Russian citizenship to Lithuanian or Estonian one, and they support the war, they are going to be stripped of their citizenship and or deported, depending on like which predicament they're in, a visa or a citizenship. In the Kherson region, the high voltage lines leading from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to the Crimea were suddenly downed. Weird. The invaders hit the village of Pisky from the heavy flamethrower system TOS-1A Sansepyok. At the same time, they used thermobaric ammunition prohibited by the Geneva Convention. The video shows that the village of Pisky is almost completely destroyed. I will show you what the video looks like. Let me actually send this to my computer so I can show it on YouTube. So guys, on YouTube, most of the time when I have an ability to do so, I do show videos full frame, so they are full screen. So if you do video that I'm showing like full screen, you should go to YouTube or Twitch than me holding an iPad and showing it to you, because I don't know, maybe you prefer that. I certainly would. Video file. Okay, so I am going to upload this video and I'm going to show it to you. It is quite awful and it's quite horrifying, but this is going to go on YouTube. 1 second. Video file. Okay, take a look at that. Це є піски. So this is the village of Pisky, and thermobaric ammunition is being used on it, which is awful. Also, thank you, designated hitters. Yay! So we just got another donation. Thank you so very, very, very much. That is awesome. The threat of global war is too high and Ukraine is in NATO. Oh my gosh. Well, global war is going to start Zaporizhzhia, which sounds a little bit like a little Russian to me, but I could be mistaken. I could be mistaken, but Zaporizhzhia. I would just like to let you know that the threat of the war is high if Ukraine does not stop Russia, because then Russia is going to go on to NATO countries. And then Russia is going to go on to Europe, and Russia is going to try and conquest the world, because they are a failed empire and they have these colonial little desires inside of them. So if you think that NATO budging in for Ukraine is going to start the world war, Ukraine not winning would start the world war. It's a bit of a different logic here. Not sure if you're following. Anyways, not HIMARS, Russian version of Olenivka prison attack failed. Experts categorically rule out the use of HIMARS. After all, photos of the consequences of the fire indicate that the walls are still standing and most of the roof remained unscathed. Experts say that the impact of HIMARS would cause much more damage. In these videos, there is no crater anywhere. The beds are not pushed back. The poles are not damaged, but massive fire damage is visible. If it was a guided multiple launch rocket system, you would see craters, a broken ceiling and walls, bodies after the explosion, the weapons specialist told CNN. U.S. officials also rejected the version of the use of HIMARS. Experts point to a fire from the inside of the building and not an explosion due to the external influences. Let me remind you, Olenivka is the prison facility where Ukrainian defenders of Azovstal were illegally held there hostage, although they are protected under Geneva Convention as POWs, and they were burned alive inside of that prison facility. And Russia was saying that Ukraine attacked their own because these prisoners were starting to give out like military intelligence, but it's only intelligence if it's current and relevant, and these prisoners have been there for 2 months before that happened. So it's not like, first off, no. Second off, why would Ukraine kill our own? So yeah, they were trying to say that HIMARS caused it, but that just got disputed because HIMARS would not have caused that damage. So you can see the burnt bodies. CNN did blur them right there. And then let me read this. So it was about 1,000 people that were held there. This is one of their rooms. Also, they were moved from one facility to another facility right before this attack. This is what the facility looked like before. This is what the facility looked like after. If it was a HIMARS strike, a lot more damage would have been around the area. Then this says, this shows what a HIMARS strike actually looks like. So this is the ammo depot in Novakhovka. This is what it looked like before HIMARS. This is what it looked like after. And you can see the burnt kind of like missile strike and a crater. So here you can see what a non-HIMARS internal fire looks like, because this is what the prison facility looked like before HIMARS, before the alleged HIMARS, and this is what it looked like after the alleged HIMARS. Nope. Then this is the fact that the walls are still all intact, and it just looks like it burned from the inside, not a HIMARS strike. And after a HIMARS strike, the walls would not be standing. And these are the explosions at the Crimea Air Base that were or were not done by HIMARS as well. Okay, so Russian invaders again fired at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and the territory near the nuclear facility, according to Energoatom. 5 strikes were recorded in the area of the station's commandant's office, next to the welding site and the storage of radiation sources. The grass caught fire in a small area, but fortunately no one was hurt. However, the enemy did not stop there. So that answers your question, Nicole. Another 5 strikes occurred in the area of the fire station located not far from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. As a result of the shelling at the station, it was not possible to carry out a shift change on time. Indeed, for the safety of nuclear scientists, buses with the personnel of the subsequent shift were turned back to Enerhodar. Until the situation returns to normal, workers from the previous shift will continue to work. Crimea is still Ukrainian, in fact. So this is what that looked like from far away. You see that smoke? That smoke is from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Here is a little bit of a better, clearer picture. Hi, Ukraine. Oh, crap. Why? One sec, sorry. Camera on YouTube has been really acting up recently, and I really don't like that. I don't know if it's because it's not charged enough or if it's because something's happening to it. Oh, I see. Okay, it is not charged enough. I did have an issue charging it because I thought, so I plugged it into my laptop and I thought that it would be charging, but it was not. So you're not going to have to see me from this horrifying angle of all of this mess that needs to be cleaned up. But it is what it is. I'm so sorry. Also, this is like so high up because I have books underneath my monitor. Привіт, Миколаїв. Як вас справи? But yeah, so I apologize for the terrible quality of the stream, but I plugged in my camera into my laptop thinking it would be charging, but apparently when my laptop is off, even though it's plugged in, the camera does not charge from it. It has to be on. Okay. More than 130 women from Azovstal are in captivity. During the briefing, the Minister for the Reintegration of the Temporarily Occupied Territories of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, said that we're talking about women soldiers, border guards, and medical workers. Radiation background at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is within normal limits, according to Energoatom. As of 5 p.m., the radiation background at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is 11 to 12 micro RH, which corresponds to natural norms. There is no fire, including at the second power unit of the Zaporizhzhia NPP, which the occupying publics and Russian media write about. It should be noted that a conference of the UN Security Council will be held in New York today. Given the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, there is hope that diplomats will consider the issues of nuclear blackmailing of Russia. About 13,000 Belarusians agreed to fight in Ukraine. This was stated by the Deputy Chief of the Main Operational Directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Brigadier General Alexei Hromov, during a briefing. All volunteers are from among the former military Belarusians and OMON. OMON is like special forces of like Belarusian police. The main motive of Belarusian mercenaries is money. There is no ideological component in the actions of the occupying troops. Fear and money are the main factors of the Russian military presence, Gromov said. He also said that Russia invites foreign representatives from Syria, Mali, Laos, Uzbekistan to the training grounds of Belarus. There are suspicions that it is on the eve of the Independence Day of Ukraine that Russia can arrange a provocation at the Belarusian training ground with the death of foreigners to demonize the armed forces of Ukraine and finally involve Belarus in the hostilities. So, Ukrainian Independence Day is August 24th and it's rapidly approaching. And that seems like, oh, мама, в мене цей назначено в консульство зразу після Дня Незалежності. So Ukrainian Independence Day is on August 24th, and I'm actually going to the consulate to get my biometric passport so I could travel to Ukraine for the first time in 8 years. I know I keep saying this, but it's like I haven't been home in 8 years, and I finally got my permission to travel, or rather, I'm finally supposed to be getting it on Saturday. And my passport is expiring in September, and I can only travel to Europe without visas if I have a biometric passport, and my passport is not biometric. So I need to go get a biometric passport. And the consulate in Ukraine in New York had 0 openings for for anything. So I have to travel to Chicago to get in there to then get the passport documents submitted there, and then yeah. So there is that. Yeah. So I'm going there right after the Independence Day. But basically, yes, Russia has been trying to involve Belarus. Lukashenko somehow has been trying to not. Lukashenko has been like dodging this involvement, which is crazy because Lukashenko usually is quite Putin's puppet, but he's scared because he knows that if he involves Belarus, Belarusians are going to like actually revolt and overthrow him. That's going to give them like a window. So So basically, Russians are going to try and start a provocation in order to destroy like a Belarusian base to blame Ukrainians in it, so Belarus gets involved. But I don't think anybody's going to believe them. Honestly, like I don't even think the Belarusians are going to believe them. For the fourth time in a day, the invaders fired at the territory near Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The fire station located on the territory of the Zaporizhzhia NPP was fired upon. Later, they hit the territory located next to the first power unit. Damaged the pumping station for domestic wastewater. There was a lot of smoke nearby. The situation is aggravating because there are radiation sources nearby and several radiation sensors are damaged, Enerhoatom notes. The threat of missile strikes on military installations and critical infrastructure facilities in the territory of Ukraine remains, the summary of the General Staff on the evening of August 11th. 1.5 billion military aid for Ukraine was raised today during the conference of the Northern European allies in Copenhagen, where 20 countries took part. Danish Defense Minister Morten Budskov announced the allocation of 110 million for the purchase of weapons and training for Ukraine. Also, the head of the British Ministry of Defense, Wallace, announced the transfer of more rocket launchers and high-precision medium-range missiles to Kyiv. Russia is preparing fakes about Zelensky for the West. Ukrainian intelligence. Of course, they're always preparing. How many more fakes can they prepare about Zelensky for the West? I'm actually very curious because are there any more possible scenarios that they could come up with? The presidential administration of the Russian Federation agreed on the creation of a new structure affiliated with the Russian Special Services. Its main task will be to implement an information campaign aimed at discrediting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Western Europe. In particular, they're going to create a website of the so-called Zelensky Fund and spread fakes through it. In the near future, a full-fledged launch of the project is expected at the start of a wide media campaign for promotion. Honestly, they could do so much with that money. They could buy toilets for their people. They could repair roads. They could build roads in most places where there are no roads, because there are no roads in most places in Russia other than Moscow and like St. Petersburg. They could do so much good with that money, and they're wasting it on creating a fake website about Zelensky. Like, are you for real? Like, guys, you have no roads. You are a gas superpower, and only 30% of households are connected to the central gas system. Like, are you kidding me? UN Security General Antonio Guterres is concerned about the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and called for an end of hostilities around it. He also called on the parties to withdraw military personnel and equipment from the station and refrain from further deployment of forces or equipment on the spot. At the same time, he did not mention that the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was being fired upon by the Russian military. The facility cannot be used as part of any military operation. Instead, an urgent agreement is needed at a technical level on a secure demilitarization perimeter to ensure the security of the territory, he said. The United States supports the initiative to create a demilitarized zone around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the State Department said. Meanwhile, the area near the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is shelled from time to time by Russians. The permanent representative of China to the UN called on Russia and Ukraine to sit down at the negotiating table because of the situation around the ZNPP, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. I'm going to call it the ZNPP from now on because a long name. Recall the meeting of the UN Security Council on the situation around the ZNPP has begun. There is no immediate emergency danger at the Zaporizhzhia NPP, but the situation can change at any moment. IAEA head Rafael Grossi at a meeting of the UN Security Council. Grossi is still calling for his organization to be allowed to visit the station. At the UN Security Council, the representative of Ukraine also spoke in favor of IAEA visit to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and called on Russia to not disrupt this mission. The head of the IAEA, Grossi, noted that the issue of the mission's visit to the station is a matter of time. Also, China. When you were saying that Russia and Ukraine needs to sit down at the negotiation table, maybe you should stop buying Russian gas and oil and maybe, like, just maybe stop, like, pushing Russian creators on, like, TikTok. Like, maybe stop. It's just like kind of not cool, because you're like promoting Russia, you're like buying from Russia, you're like putting stores in Russia, you're like profiting off of this situation, and then you're like, maybe sit down at the negotiation table. Well, maybe stop buying all this stuff and supporting a terrorist and saving your face in terms of like diplomacy around the world and actually contribute to stopping Russia. How about that? Right? Right. Anyways, the so-called tribunal over the Azov regiment people is a test for the international community. Recently, Russian terrorists announced a pseudo-trial of Ukrainian prisoners of war in Mariupol. I showed you those photos of cages that are being set up for them to be publicly tried in a trial in a freaking philharmonic on stage in a video that's on my page. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It is important. Footage of cages built allegedly for a public process appeared on the network. Ex-commander of Azov, Maxim Zhorin, said that this situation should be a test for international organizations that call themselves organizations protecting human rights. According to Zhorin, there was no reaction from international organizations to the past atrocities of the Russian Federation, and the criminals did not bear any responsibility. After that, the Russians openly and fearlessly announced the next crimes in the form of a so-called tribunal, and the world is doing nothing about it. The world is doing nothing about it is something that I'm adding for myself because they are not. Russians are literally saying, well, hey, we are going to quite literally have a tribunal over these POWs, a public show trial. They're not even supposed to be on trial. That's against the international law and Geneva Convention. But we're going to do it. And the world is like, oopsie doopsie, that's so sad. Sumy region is the most mined in Ukraine among the deoccupied territories. More than 47% of the region was mined and more than 6,000 explosive objects were destroyed, reported the head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Denis Monastyrsky. Now let me check out Kyiv Independent one more time, and I'm going to just make sure that I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about today, and then I'm going to show you Zelensky's speech for today. Okay, so, yes, intelligence. This week marks 2 years since Lukashenko. Oh, so this week marks 2 years since Belarus dictator Alexander Lukashenko stole the election. He then proceeds to crush the nationwide upheaval and turn the country into a very grim place. So, speaking of Lukashenko, Kat, my moderator, sent me a video today where a Russian person, amoeba, spineless thing, unable of learning and absorbing any information, kind of like an antithet of a sponge, basically, was asked why he thinks the war is going on, and he said that, well, it's because Ukraine's current president Zelensky is doing everything wrong, and that's why there is a war, and that's why Russia attacked. And so upon being asked what is it that he's doing wrong, the dude was like, well, he's a comedian. And the interviewer was like, well, how is that wrong? And he was like, everything's just wrong about this guy. And then he asked him whether he thinks that he said that Zelensky should not have won and that Ukraine should have just kept our previous president. And so our previous president's name is Poroshenko, like Roshen, the candy, and Belarusian president, dictator, pseudo-president is Lukashenko. So Poroshenko, former president of Ukraine, Lukashenko, current dictator in Belarus of 30 years. And so this guy goes like, yeah, they should have just kept the other president. He should have just stayed. And the interviewer is like, well, that's not how elections work because he was elected. So the other dude couldn't have just stayed. And he's like, so you liked the former president of Ukraine, huh? And like, so what's his name? And he goes like, oh, Lukashenko. And he's like, oh, okay. Lukashenko, the president of Ukraine, he's good, huh? And he was like, yeah, he's better with like Putin, and he's better with relationships with us and stuff like that. And if he stayed, then none of this would have happened. And he was like, so do you know what Lukashenko is doing now? And the guy was like, no, I have no idea. I haven't heard of him at all. And I'm just like, oh, Lukashenko was never president of Ukraine. Thank freaking God. But yeah, Lukashenko, Poroshenko, you know, those chachols, they're all the same. I mean, you know, those non-Russians, they're all blended together. Belarus, what is Belarus? Is that a state in Russia? What? Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let me set up the camera again because it must have charged at least a little bit, and I will need the camera in order to show what? In order to show you guys, sorry, in order to show you guys the Zelensky's evening speech, because without Zelensky's evening speech, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I can't show it on that thing because I'm not going to be holding the camera for as long as Zelensky's speech usually takes. So. Мамо, я вже майже готова. До того, щоб закінчити. О, чудово. Будемо з Тарасом говорити. Прекрасно. Okay, so let me do this. No, ZV. Oh my gosh, yay. Look at that. Quality of picture. Beautiful. Okay, quality. So let me now set this up so that you guys can actually see, and I will be, oh, thank you so much, Jilly. Here. Okay. Oh, and I need to mirror it. So, like so, let me do this so that it works. I need to mirror the image here. I need to mirror the image there. I need to mirror the image everywhere. Okay, enhance, mirror your video, mirrored. And now I need to mirror the video here. Sorry, I narrate everything. It's incredibly annoying. I get it. I'm sorry. Okay, so Ukrainians. Can you guys read this well? Is that all good for you? Are we good to go? Also, wait. For everybody who does speak Ukrainian, I'm going to turn this on.
Українці, українки, короткі підсумки дня. Взяв участь в роботі конференції донорів в Копенгагені. Це 26 держав-партнерів України. Країни Європи, Сполучені Штати, Японія, Австралія, Нова Зеландія. Вони заснували ще один формат на продовження добре відомих зустрічей на авіабазі Рамштайн. Цей формат про довгострокову підтримку. Це зброя, боєприпаси, тренування військових, розмінування, відновлення на звільненій території. Вже маємо перші результати конференції. Данія одразу по відкриттю зустрічі оголосила про новий пакет підтримки України обсягом 110 мільйонів євро. Загалом конференція зібрала тільки за день 1,5 мільярди євро, які будуть витрачені в тому числі на виробництво життєво необхідних боєприпасів. До речі, це вагомий плюс до тих кредитних гарантій на 4 мільярди доларів, які були раніше надані Сполученими Штатами, щоб посилити нашу оборонну взаємодію з партнерами в постачанні для української армії. Я дякую всім, хто сьогодні у Копенгагені підтримав Україну, і вірю, що такий формат співпраці прискорить нашу спільну перемогу. У зверненні до учасників конференції я підкреслив, що усім потрібно діяти значно швидше і жорсткіше, і особливо після того, як Росія перейшла до відвертого ядерного шантажу. Те, що відбувається зараз навколо Запорізької АЕС, це один з найбільших злочинів держави-терориста. Сьогодні зафіксовані чергові прильоти російських снарядів по території станції в безпосередній близькості від об'єктів АЕС. Росія вкотре пробила дно у світовій історії тероризму. Ніхто більше не використовував атомну станцію так очевидно для погроз усьому світу і для висування якихось там умов. І абсолютно усі в світі мають реагувати негайно, щоб вигнати окупантів з території Запорізької атомної станції. Це глобальний інтерес, а не просто українська потреба. Наголошуємо на цьому на всіх рівнях, від Ради безпеки ООН до контактів між державами. Тільки повний відхід росіян з території Запорізької АЕС і відновлення повноцінного контролю України за ситуацією навколо станції гарантують відновлення атомної безпеки для всієї Європи. Хочу зазначити сьогодні важливу річ для усіх представників державної та місцевої влади. військової сфери та інших осіб, які коментують події на фронті, оборонний задум, командування, підготовку конкретних операцій тощо. Загальне правило просте: війна – це точно не час для марнославства і гучності заяв. Чим менше конкретних деталей ви озвучите про наші оборонні плани, тим краще буде для реалізації цих оборонних планів. Якщо ви хочете залишити по собі гучні заголовки, це одна справа. Відверто, безвідповідально. Якщо ж ви хочете перемогти і перемоги для України, то це інша справа. І ви маєте відчувати свою відповідальність за кожне сказане слово про те, до чого готується наша держава в обороні чи в контрнаступі. Відбулася чергова розмова сьогодні в постійному форматі Єрмак, Сальван, Залужний, Мілі. Тематика розмови зрозуміла. Зміст позитивний, а деталі, я думаю, самі. Зустрівся сьогодні з шефом Хосе Андресом, засновником міжнародної гуманітарної організації World Central Kitchen. Він понад 10 років годує людей в країнах, які стали жертвами війни чи стихійного лиха. Успішний ресторатор, працює в Америці, один з найвідоміших і найвпливовіших людей світу. З перших днів повномасштабної війни Росії проти нашої держави його організація почала роботу на кордоні з Польщею для переселенців. Згодом розгорнула активність в багатьох містах України. Вже 5 тисяч людей там працюють. Більше як 130 мільйонів обідів приготовлено для наших громадян. Домовились з паном Андресом про розширення такої гуманітарної місії, зокрема на райони, які поступово звільняються від російської окупації. І я хочу сьогодні подякувати також усім українцям та усім громадянам держав, наших друзів, які допомагають задоволенню саме гуманітарних потреб, що створені цією війною, тим, хто допомагає з житлом та роботою переселенців, тим, хто лікує та реабілітує поранених російськими обстрілами, тим, хто доставляє на прифронтові території ліки, продукти харчування, засоби зв'язку, тим, хто підтримує одиноких людей і сиріт цієї війни, і тим, хто допомагає відновлювати все те, що зруйнували російські терористи. Це багатотисячна гуманітарна армія України і усього вільного світу, якій Росія не може і не зможе нічого протиставити. Я дякую вам. Завтра буде насичений день, завтра буде багато подій і міжнародних, і внутрішньодержавних. Вже готуємося до них, робимо все, щоб у наших захисників була надійна опора на політичному, на дипломатичному, економічному, гуманітарному та усіх інших рівнях. Вічна слава усім нашим воїнам, слава кожному і кожній, хто боронить Донбас, Харківщину, Південь, Центр, всю нашу державу. Слава Україні!
Okay, 1 second. Mirror your video. I'm going to also mirror it on YouTube. Okay. And we're back. Sorry, you're seeing me, or rather, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to sum up the fundraiser for now. So we have $3,858 on on the fundraiser page. We have $714 on Venmo, and we have, I will tell you how much on PayPal. And clear display. Oh. Okay, so on here we have, I will tell you how much we have. We have 24.25 plus 485, 24.25 plus 4.85 plus We have 50, 50, 50, 50, 230, 250, 400, 450 plus 450. We are at $5,051.10. So we officially have crossed the halfway threshold. And now let me remind you that we have stamps and stickers up for raffle. So every donation of $5 starting from today to until we get $10,000 is going to be entering you into the raffle for these two bad boys. One is the Russian Worship Go F Yourself stamp, done, and one is this. The Russian Worship Go F Yourself stamp is going to be framed, and it's going to be matted in a very cute frame that I showed in my previous stream earlier today. It's going to be a frame similar to the one that I have mine in, but most likely bigger, and also, well, not most likely, but bigger, and it's also going to be either black and white stripes or white, but it's going to be the same company, and it's going to be very cute. It's going to be ready for hanging, and also I'm not going to glue it or anything. So if you're a stamp collector, you obviously can take it out and reuse the frame for something else, but it is going to be framed and nice, and you can do with it what you please. So every $5 gives you one entry. So if you decide to donate 50, that's going to be 10 entries. If you decide to donate 100, it's going to be 20 entries. And you don't have to donate like $5 each time. You can donate it in one. We're just going to calculate entries for you, and then artificial intelligence is going to pick a random person who wins these. So I am just going to say that Gawk and Bonchance, please let's get the fundraiser to $10,000 so we can get 3 night vision devices for the Ukrainian defenders. And yeah, and most likely I'm going to, instead of just buying them and shipping them, I'm going to buy them and bring them with me, because I can just put them in a suitcase and I can go home soon for the first time in 8 years. Ich bin Imperator. Yeah, no. Bye, Russia. Auf Wiedersehen. Don't look back. How much are we up to now? We are up to $5,051.10. So we need $4,950 or $4,949.90. So we are up to $5,051.10. And my mom and I are about to go speak to Taras, who is the man, the myth, the legend, who supports the dogs on the front lines and who also does all of the fundraisers and just everything for the military. And we are going to try and organize the photo shoot, and we're going to try and see if he can get a bunch of military men and a bunch of military men and a bunch of firefighters and a bunch of men and women and a bunch of a hair more than halfway, yes, but more than halfway indeed. So we're going to see if he can get the firefighters, first responders, EMTs, policemen, territorial defense, thank you Brain Buzz, and soldiers to participate in our sexy Ukrainian defenders calendar that we're going to be selling and donating everything off the profits to the Ukrainian military. Thank you so much, Intellibe Runner. I'm all right. I got my work permit, and it's supposed to double as a travel permit. So now I am about to go to the embassy in Chicago to get my biometric passport so I can go back home. Also, the tickets to Ukraine are like over $1,000, and I'm That's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. It's not fine, but I'm fully willing to empty everything I have to go back home if I needed to. So yes, it's just like crappy because Yes, so it's from Ukraine. It's a cardigan and it's from Ukraine. It's linked on my Instagram, and I also asked the brand to give me a discount for my followers, and they did because I got it and I loved it. Ah, no, it's still from Poland. It's still just from Poland. Uzhhorod Airport is not going to be functional for a while, if it is going to be at all. But yeah, no, it's still through Poland or through any other country. So yes. So yes. But legalize your marriage in Ukraine, yes. uh so yes, I'm gonna go do that as well. Well, I will need to do so many documents in Ukraine. It's like not even funny. It's not funny at all. But it's okay, It's okay. It's gonna be all right. Thank you, Brain Buzz. Ooh, the panda. Ooh, the panda. Thank you. Alrighty, guys. My mom and I need to go and talk to Taras, and we're going to be organizing for the Sexy Ukrainian Defenders calendar. Mhm. And my mom is calling on me. I might come in to the live for a little bit. Zheshev is the nearest to Lviv, yes, but I'm going to be probably flying into Warsaw. Brain Buzz, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad it's helpful. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go because I need to. I might come. I know, Sandra. Well, it's up on YouTube. Actually, 2 live streams today. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna go because I need to. But I will probably come on just to chat and hang out and kind of like decompress while I am cleaning up my room right before I go to bed, which is probably like in 40 minutes. So I'll see you later. Bye, guys. Bye, bye, bye. Thank you, Jilly. Bye, guys. And bye, YouTube. And Twitch.